So look, I'm drinking my espresso coffee with cream. Oh, so freaking good. So, yeah, so both of my lymph nodes are open. That attack of the future, the demons of the future a couple days ago, that was like being sick. That was like having an anxiety attack. That was like having some kind of just, predisposed issue. Because any concern you have in your body, even if you just say, okay, it's nothing, or you push it down and you hide it with something else, or you have a trauma from a sickness or anything that you used a cure on, that is a predisposed issue that when all the conditions are right will come out and manifest in different ways. It can manifest in your body, in your mind, and in your spirit. And so your body, mind, and spirit is an exact reflection of not only how you see the world, of course, but every single trauma, good thing, bad thing that's ever happened to you. And so you can see the reflection in people based upon all the trauma, all the good things and the bad things that happened to them. And then you see that displayed all over Facebook, all over their occupation, all over their face, unless they get plastic surgery or Botox, or they're wearing a lot of makeup, or they're wearing a mask. Okay. I mean, people will tell you their trauma, and it's all in plain sight. Everything is in plain sight. Milk is in plain sight. That's what's so freaking insane. It took us 7 years, guys, 7 years to figure this out. 7 fucking years to figure out we are the gods. That we are the ones that can make or break ourselves. Like ourselves, not somebody else out there, but us ourselves. Our ability to process milk, our ability to understand the need of salt, our ability to understand symptoms, and not be afraid to die from them. It took us 7 fucking years to do that. We've done things that even PhDs who spent years in college haven't done. And I'm not saying this is me. This is all of us. Audrey, Tanya, Pip, John, everybody. My haters, my supporters. Well, they're the same thing. My haters, my lovers, even my husband. He sort of gets this, but, he won't tell me that. But, I mean, it took us 7 years to figure this out. 7 fucking years. Okay? All of that suffering and pain was not for naught. It was for something. You watching me go through the suffering and the pain and the dealing with all this stuff and the angst and just the changes that I had to go through, you had to go through, having to evolve to my new thought process. You guys had to do it too. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be where I am today. If it wasn't for, that's why this is a whole communal project, that the information is free. All you gotta do is drink milk, eat food. You don't even have to have meat. You can have the plant-based proteins, but drink a lot of milk, release the demons, face all of your pain, and it could be rashes and psoriasis and eczema, and heart attacks and strokes, and anything else that comes under the sun, the angst, the rashes, okay? We're going through, my anxiety the other day of the future, when I was standing in the shoes of the future, being 55 plus, wondering what the hell, and the last couple of days feeling the heat and all of that and feeling bloated, that was another evolution. There was another frequency change in the environment. I've heard little frequencies in my ear on and off, but now I don't really say too much about them because unless they're really loud and obviously very unmistakable, but yeah, I don't say too much about them. All right, this person I'm deleting. Block. fucking trolls. Confirm. And delete. The, what do you call it? The developing world are now doing the MLMs, but they're using people who are white. They're using white people for their profile pics, and they're copy and pasting herbal remedies. Why are people in Africa, in Indonesia, in different places in the developing world using white people, using Caucasians as their profile pic? Because even they recognize that there's something to the intelligence of Asian, Caucasian, and even African American, but who is leading our world? It's the Northern Europeans, the ones that can handle the life, the milk, the nectar of the fucking gods. Why Greek mythology is based upon Greco-Roman, Caucasian, that yes, when you're out in the sun, you will turn tan. And then some have melanin that stays all year round because they're cured. And they're also constantly near the equator. They're constantly getting sunlight. But the thing is, and I've been studying different cultures and their genetics and their predisposed issues and the melanin, why melanin, lack of melanin, and where you burn and you don't produce melanin when you're in the sun, why that's an issue, and why someone holds on to melanin. Hey, John, why someone holds on to melanin constantly all year round, and that also produces a problem, an issue. So you can have on either end of the spectrum Scandinavians who don't bring in melanin to protect them from the sun. And maybe if there is not a lot of sun in that area in Scandinavia and all, the Northern European countries, then when they go into a place that is hotter, that they are constantly being hit with the sun, that they will have to develop that melanin. And that could be painful. Yes, you burn. I mean, when I go out in the sun, if I've been in the house all the time for the last how many years, and I go out in the sun like I did maybe a couple of weeks ago, I'll get tan, I'll get burned. But it heals that quickly. Some people who don't have those processes to release the demons and then now develop and adapt to their surroundings, they burn and then they get cancer, they get skin cancer. Okay, we hear about that. So I had to interwove that troll who acts like the MLMers on my Facebook, who are my friends, but I don't follow them because they're selling their herbal remedies, their tinctures, okay? But it's interesting seeing the indigenous population in Africa, in Asia, East Asia, India, and all points in between, in the developing countries, now start doing the MLMs and promoting the doctors and the herbal remedies. They are following our footsteps, but they will have to deal with now in climate change how fast those herbal remedies and things are going to deteriorate them and their genetic line. Because they've already done the studies over here in America. What happens when you're on the herbal remedies, when you're on your diet, starving yourself, when you're intolerant to food. We already know what happens. We're seeing it. Now at the 11th hour, we're figuring out milk was the golden ticket. At the 11th fucking hour. That's what's crazy. Okay? Again, it took us 7 years to figure this out. It took the salt to wake us up. It took the salt and the water to reflect back our idiosyncrasies, our fears, everything. It took that. It took the salt to wake up the demons, to face our intelligence, to be anxious to learn about something. I've always been anxious to learn stuff, but I didn't have a context to work from. When you have so much knowledge, when you have all the knowledge at your fingertips on Google, and let's say you're just a person who's like maybe 13 years old, what are you going to Google? What are you going to follow? Who are you going to follow? Who are you going to listen to? When you have all these voices, like someone who's schizophrenic, and they have all these voices screaming at them, do this, do that, do this, do that, believe this, believe that. I feel sorry for the kids nowadays. Because even so much information, it's like having no information. Okay? Now you got to figure out how are you going to now navigate and find out the information relevant to whatever your purpose is. See, that takes having life experience. Or else you're going to have somebody tell you, well, don't listen to this, listen to that, don't listen to this, listen to that. And it's no different than someone going to school and learning only one way of doing something. That's what's crazy about the age of information. It's like having no information because now you're so hit with so much information. How do you navigate? How do you discern? And it's like the Tower of Babel. It's confusion. Confucius. Confusion. Confucius. Oh, it almost sounds the sound. Sounds the same. Sounds the sound. Sounds the same. I'm not trying to insult anyone in China, okay? But milk is the golden ticket. Cream is the golden ticket. People who are sick, regardless of sickness, need to drink more cream and milk. People who want to face their demons, you need to drink milk and cream. Release the demons, face the demons. Okay? You have cancer, disease, and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders and have surgery. It's time to stop damaging your body and start drinking milk, cream, and eat all food, high salty foods. Maybe it's time you can face the demons, if you can face the demons. This is not medical advice because the medical system takes away food they don't want to feed you. The holistic system takes away food. They don't feed you. And I think about, all the foods people are eating, like the proteins, and they're eating soy and tofu. Okay, that's fine. You can have tofu and soy, or you can have big, nice marbleized steak, but what's missing? It's the cream. And then in kosher religion, where you can't mix meat and milk together in like the Orthodox Jews. And then when I was looking up who is lactose intolerant, and it shows the Jews. It shows the Mediterranean people. It shows the African Americans, people near the equator. It shows East Indian, Asian. And only a handful of people are lactose intolerant. Those are the Northern European, Scandinavian, Nordic people. Nordic people. Oh, like Klaus Schwab. That ought to freaking flip you out for a second. And then, yes, we have in America the last greatest experiment, 1776. Just recently, we had Hollywood from the golden age of Hollywood run our whole propaganda campaigns. Yes, sir. A lot of them are run by Jewish people, Christians, Catholics. Okay. But before Hollywood, what was going on over there in England? Shakespeare. You have Charles Dickens, the prolific writers, the classics, shaping society, developing personalities, influencing people. I mean, just last night I was watching another show. Oh yeah, I was watching Firefly Lane. And they're going all the way back to the 1960s, following the journey of two best friends, two girls, that met back in the 1960s as they were children, and they're growing up. Now they're in their respective fields. One's dying of cancer, of course, because that's nowadays that's what the whole thing is with these movies on Netflix, is that they end up dying of cancer. But they're reciting Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, and all the emotion of love and hate and angst and picking a side and war. I mean, you have all the great elements of a story that you see nowadays. All the archetypes. Okay. So, America, the last greatest experiment. Let me get to the next thing, because I knew where I was going with that. The Jewish people don't run the world like the conspirators want you to think, okay? We have these conspirators, and that's where the whole anti-Semitism comes from, is the perception. Yes, people have perceptions of World War II. They have perceptions of who the Rothschilds are. Perception is reality. You know how many fucking conspiracy theories out there, and which some are true and some are used as a way, as a truth to then spin you into another direction. You know how many of them are out there? There are so many of them. Like the David Icke and all of his reptilian conspiracies, that people in Buckingham Palace are all reptilian. When in actuality, that was another conspiracy theory that was made to be true, because then you have the rabbit holes down there, and then people are like, oh yeah, if they're reptilian and they're like, alien, they're going to live a long time and they're trying to destroy us, and so that's why we're not going to live for a long time. That's why we die at age 50, 67, because the reptilians in Buckingham Palace are trying to kill us. I remember hanging out with so many of those that were so deep in those conspiracies, and they're saying, oh my God, watch out, the loosh, they're feeding on the loosh, right? And they're just saying like, yeah, watch out for these things. They come out in the middle of the night and they grab your kids and they eat them and all this. I mean, I'll tell you, I experienced so much shit on the internet the last 10 fucking years. I went down every single rabbit hole known to freaking man. Anything that was on the internet that somebody in the conspiracy world was talking about, I was going, researching it, reading it, following the stories. So when you think about the age of the internet, age of information, it's the age of confusion. When you think about it. These poor kids, not only do these poor kids don't have a chance, not all of them, these poor kids don't have a chance because the parents can't handle the evolution of milk and all that stuff. But now they're faced with what do they listen to when they go on the internet? What do they Google? Well, they just turn to video games, because the confusion, I mean, the amount of information that comes at them happens all at once. They don't know what to do with it. Then they have to be guided by somebody. Again, it's like having no information and someone telling you what to listen to. Having so much information is the same thing. So the Jewish people don't run the world like the conspiracy theories make you think. There may be a lot of representation of Judaism in Hollywood, so that way you understand what it's like to be Jewish and what they went through in all the wars, like the Romanovs. And they were hurt by the Bolsheviks. Okay? I don't know if they were Jewish. I don't remember if they were or not. I haven't researched that. And that's why The Crown on Netflix was covering the Romanovs, because they don't want to be overrun by a group of people. And that's why they have MI5 and MI6. And that's why we have the CIA, FBI, DEA. Because we're not going to repeat what happened, where a whole family was slaughtered because of whatever was going on at the time. And yeah, in Eastern Europe, yeah, Jews were slaughtered. Holocaust, yes, that fucking happened. And people still do that today. They genocide each other today, but spiritually. Because in America, in the first world, and even in developing countries, they don't allow that anymore. Now people just nail each other to the cross on Facebook, YouTube. So don't let the Bible make you think that as well, that the Jews run the world. I mean, at first I did, because I was looking at from the Bible, from the Genesis, but that's still a programming. That's still like, okay, well, if the Old Testament is run by the Jews and the New Testament run by the Christians, well, the Jews, the Christians, Jesus was a Jew. Okay, it's natural to think that the Jews run the world. No, they freaking don't. Nobody runs the world when you think about it. Everyone's coming from a perspective. Some have been slaughtered and have been bullied, just like you see on the internet. Certain races, certain people, certain types of people are bullied and spiritually slaughtered. But no one person runs the world. It's the intellect that runs the fucking world. And you could be Asian, you could be African American, you can be Caucasian. But what's the key to actual intelligence that even some of the Nordic people who are in America even don't have, or in the UK? What is that intelligence that brings it? It's the milk. It's facing the demons. Now, why isn't the Nordics, why aren't they living forever? Well, 99 could be living forever. I mean, when Prince Philip, who's from a Germanic descent, raised in Greece because he was, or I think, yeah, was raised in Greece, and then I guess he was ostracized and ousted, that family. He came from like Germanic, Northern European, and he lived to be 99 years old. 99 years old, and the queen drinks raw milk. She chose raw milk. Even the crown understands this. The crown came from Northern Europe, and here they are. They're settled in England. See, you gotta evolution. Evolution is painful. If you already pretty strong stock, and she's type O, not even type A and B. Type A and B, you've been innovated to such an extent. Blood type A and B. Because you're used for your mind. But if you're not being programmed, geared towards a specific job, then when you are type A and B and your mind's going 1,000 miles per hour and you're not fitting into society, then you go into criminal activity, which, okay, it's another strategy. Criminals, there are smart fucking criminals out there, and then people that finally go legit. But there's a reason why people who are not geared towards the mainstream society, they go into criminal behavior, because that's another way to use their brain. Instead of working with the system, they get over on the system. That's where you get all the whole crime syndicates. It's where you get all the mafia. Fucking smart people. Study the mafia. I live in Canton, Ohio, and Italian mafia, they ran this town. I mean, there's still residuals. I know, John. I was kind of speaking to your situation. You've gone legit. You're fucking smart. Now drink the milk, dude. Drink the cream. Stop eating the raw eggs. It's telling you, this is some really crazy stuff. It's really awesome. Okay? It's really awesome. And so people in the Bible, even Jewish people, are subject to experimentation as you are. The Titans run the world. They gave you your religion. Who are the Titans? Well, we'll leave that open, because you could be a Titan if you actually not only exercise your brain, but you release the demons. Well, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you, I know that there are certain cultures, even me, that had a lot of lactose intolerance. When I would drink my Starbucks coffee with cream, I would be shitting my brains out. People are afraid to shit their brains out. They're afraid to eat and be sick. They're afraid to feel the hypertension, feel stuff. They're afraid to lay down being sick. They're eating mostly just protein and carbs. When you're eating mostly just protein and carbs, yeah, you bulk up. Yeah, you're all like, muscly, but there isn't a lot of fat to you. So when the environment changes and you have an electrical surge in your heart and your cardiovascular system, you don't have the insulation. And so then there is a short. And that's why people in certain cultures, maybe like the Black African American, die from heart attacks, strokes, and hypertension. Because the lack of fat, they have a lot more muscle. A lot more muscle. And some are really big, and they may have a lot of fat on their body, but it's not working to their benefit. So you have obesity, and you have emaciation. Really skinny Black folk, and really, and it's like it's like two ends of the spectrum. Then you have some that are like, yes, that have been oh gosh, developed for entertainment purposes. Whether it's, sports, whether it's singing, rapping, and they have to look a certain way. And so that's where all the muscles, all like this, and then there's a lot of sex. I mean, that's even in the Caucasian world, a lot of sex, drugs. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We have been given a culture. Every one of us, the Asians, we've been typecasted to be the smart, to be academic, to be the sidekick. We have the Black population being pigeonholed to be the entertainers, the sports stars. Okay? We have Hispanics or the Mexicans. They contribute in their way. I don't remember exactly what the typecast is for them. Oh yeah, well yeah. The stuff in California mostly. I mean, there's gangs, I guess, the norteños and reños. But that's more, well, I mean, that's probably still happening too. But I mean, all cultures have been given, well, all races that we know, that we go and checkmark when they're doing affirmative action, have been given a culture. And yes, some comes from the old country and then it's been spun. Then you get the gangs in California, the North versus the South. And you have the Chicano culture, and them using like the oldies, the 50s as their music of choice. I mean, it's pretty interesting. I mean, that's why California is such a diverse mountain. That's why I mentioned the norteños and sureños in my book, and the Crips and the Bloods, because I was exposed to all of that, you know, in the juvenile system, of course, and in the group home system. And human experimentation. Somebody gave them that way to be. When did it start? Who the hell knows? Was there Crip and Bloods before the 80s and the 70s and the 60s? I mean, the 60s, you had the Black Panthers. The 60s, you had all these different things. Did the 60s produce the Crips and the Bloods, the norteños and sureños? And then that whole culture, that development of a culture and a way to be, bled into, you know, Mexico and South America and all over the world. And then people are adopting that as a way to be because of movies. That's the thing you got to realize. We've all been programmed, experimented on, been told to be in fear of food, not liking the way we feel, if it's a heartbeat that's acting more, higher blood pressure, the fear of milk. But I understand when you have excessive psoriasis, there are people in the J world, I mean, that had so much psoriasis. And yeah, they did the J juice and it calmed it down. It didn't disappear it, but it stopped it from growing or coming to surface, because all the other cures out there in the allopathic market weren't enough. They would get antibiotic resistance. How long could you be on a drug to stop the body from growing and releasing before the body was like, yeah, they're going to adapt to that antibiotic. And so then they have to go to another drug. And so the J world was great in the beginning for those that had that kind of issue, because they saw a relief in their symptoms, but that wasn't the answer. That's what you saw in Dr. Phil when the lady next to me, Bridget, she saw relief in her eczema and psoriasis. You can watch that Dr. Phil episode, but that wasn't the answer, because any cure, like even salt or anything in the allopathic holistic society or system, is only temporary. You now actually have to let it express itself and let it release, and it comes out in your poop, it comes out in your skin, and you have to sit and be fucking miserable. That's the curse. That's the curse that people are not willing to face. And so then what do? They stay on they take food away. They get on their different drugs and herbs and extracts, so they hold back the demons, and the demons are developing and reproducing and becoming stronger inside until it takes them out altogether. And it could be 60 years later. And so you got to realize you have to release those freaking demons. Now is the time. We're in climate change. The system, the titans, the intellectuals out there are setting people free. Sometimes you have to die to be set free because the pain is too great. Sometimes you have to stay at home and pull back on your hours at work. Scale down your lifestyle. Change your belief system. Release yourself from the grip of the system that puts you in that career field, in that jail of a belief system, that religion, that science dogma. Free yourself. But remember, people are like, what do you call it, Stockholm syndrome? They love their captors because they know what to expect next. It's predictable. What's the devil you know versus the devil you don't? I get it. And so you can be a titan. Now, will a person who is African American drink a bunch of milk, release the demons, go through that process? will they see a difference in their melanin? Well, it just depends on the geography that you live in. If you live in a predominantly sunny climate, let's say like Africa, you will always have that protection. But when you go inside, let's say you go inside for a longer period of time, you won't need as much melanin. It'd be like those lenses, transition lenses, where when you go inside, you become lighter. If you stay inside for a long period of time, like you work in an office, you become lighter. And if you're predominantly outside, working out there in the fields or doing whatever outside, then you become darker because that's the way your body's supposed to work. You become lighter when you're not near so much UV rays, and you become darker if you're always around UV rays. But what happens is people don't have that transition. And so some people live in a predominantly colder climate, and they work inside, but they don't see their skin getting lighter. Why? Because they're cured. That's biology. And people die and reproduce, so that's why you don't see too much of a change in that family as far as the melanin of the skin, because they don't allow themselves to transition and evolve. They just die and then they reproduce another child, another clone of themselves. You want to understand evolution? It's painful. You gotta set yourself free from all the cures. But that's like, saying to a person, well, maybe it's time to change your culture and your belief system. And you have so many friends and family that are like, you're acting different, you're acting weird, you're selling out. I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of these cultures, when you try to be different, whatever it is, they're like, oh, you're acting WHITE, you're acting BLACK, you're acting this, you're acting that. And so they jail you. They don't allow you to evolve. That's the danger of such tight-knit group of friends and family. They don't allow you to evolve. It's scary. When someone wants to break free from the jail, now they got to answer to people that are right next to them, in their house, in their community. And so for you to actually evolve, you have to leave, and then you're on your own, but maybe that's the best. But hey, that takes strength to leave everything you've ever known so you can save yourself. And some people aren't strong enough to do that. Luckily, I was. It took me a while to get the fuck out of California, but I did. Because that place was going to kill me. The Titans run the world. They gave you your religion. Who are the Titans? Well, leave that. Well, let's leave that open. And then there is a dictionary definition. Titan, a person or thing of very great strength, intellect, or importance. A titan of American industry. Well, we have the titans of industry. But then we're looking at the titans of religion, the titans of politics, the titans of science. And then you look at the World Economic Forum, you look at then the New World Order, and you look at the Georgia Guidestones, and you look at all the crazy conspiracy out there. And even I entertain the David Icke and the reptilian stuff. But I mean, hey, when you are splicing and dicing and merging species, you can develop a reptilian, a stable reptilian person. I've seen even on Facebook Reels where there's a person was merged into with a frog. So they had frog features, frog face, but then more of like a person body, like a human body. Oh, that's coming down the line at some point. When you think about Star Trek, I don't say Star Trek, there's like people out there in spaceships that are from different galaxies. What Gene Roddenberry was actually showing you is that we can splice and dice so many different things in the lab. We can put together animals and humans together. Like you hear about the centaurs, the unicorns, the Pegasus, like Fantasia. Remember Fantasia, Disney? All the magic. And one aspect of Fantasia was the unicorns and the Pegasus and the centaurs from the Greek mythology. Yeah, watch Fantasia from the 1950s or 40s, the old version of Fantasia in Disney. They're merging in, the Genesis and then all the Greek mythology and all the biotech, and Adam and Eve is really a representation more than anything else. Ah, my God. Yeah. It's the world is not what you think. It's crazy. And so when I read about the lactose tolerance, which group of people have lactose tolerance? It's the Nordics. And they came from the corded ware culture. That was like back in the Bronze Age. And then so I'm gonna read this so that way you guys can Google and do your research and, you know, and learn about the fucking world that you live in. So fascinating. This is why so much of the innovation came from Europe. This is why the indigenous populations called them the white devils, but they weren't, okay? However, how do you get people to evolve when they resist you? All right, so yeah, I'm not excusing what our ancestors, not our, but what people like in Spain or Italy did to the indigenous Indian population. But like anything, when you're trying to evolve a world, and you're and understand how to bring the world together, but why do they want to? Why is it their business? But, you know, well, I couldn't tell you if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but you don't want wars, right? See, when you have two different cultures clashing together, you have war and destruction, rape and pestilence and starvation. Just look at even on America, all the different Indian tribes, the Cherokee, the Navajo, and the Sioux, and they're always at war with each other. And look at it right now. We have Democrats and Republicans. We have black versus white. We have rich versus not rich, rich versus poor, north versus south. I mean, it's freaking endless. And then that's why the dynasties in China ended, because there was too much war. I mean, how many times you want Genghis Khan to come in and go and rape and pillage everybody? Or Leif Erikson and the Vikings. I mean, that's all caveman mentality. Now it's time to be civilized. And who determines that? Who started when you say that, that's where you're like, okay, the Titans, where do they come from? Well, I don't fucking know. Okay, I have no idea. So, oh my God. So fascinating. This is why so much of the innovation came from Europe. This is why indigenous populations call them the white devil, but they weren't. However, how do you get people to evolve when they resist you? Now, first world will leave developing worlds alone. So read the Georgia Guidestones, okay? Afghanistan, Iraq will have to figure it out for themselves. We can't save the women or the children, or even those that are weaker. They will have to figure it out. It's going to be pure Darwinism in some of these places. The Taliban are in control. I'm sorry, woman. I'm sorry, child, that you're going to be enslaved by the men there, but you're going to have to figure it out. Either the men are going to save you and save themselves, or the men are going to take over, and it will be a very traditional, but even almost like archaic civilization, like 6,000 years ago. But we can't go and train and tell them not to. We've tried that. Or did we really? Did we actually work hard to help them change? Or was that just an exercise in futility and a distraction to something else? You have no idea what the intentions were when we invaded Iraq and Iran, or not Iran, but Iraq and Afghanistan. We hear about the whole 9/11 stuff, but even that, what was that for? So, I mean, you can speculate, you can go down the rabbit holes all you want, but when in reality, if you're in the first world and you're in developing worlds trying to match and get up to the first world, be lucky that you're in that. Those that are in like Afghanistan or Iraq and some of the Middle Eastern places, not so much Dubai or Saudi Arabia because they're a little bit more evolved, but some places are not, and it's not up to us to go and change them. But at least they can see now, they see other models of different civilizations, and they can choose to evolve or not. And if you escape those developing countries or escape those countries that are under that kind of rule, then yeah, you're welcome to be anywhere. The government will allow you to come in if you are that awesome to escape something as atrocious as oppression. Okay. So stable isotopes ratio of Yamna individuals from the Dnipro Valley suggests that the Yamna diet, which is the Yamnas were the indigenous cultures of the Northern European, the Caucasians. This is during the Bronze Age, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Yeah, so stable isotopes, ratios of the Yamna individuals from the Dnipro Valley suggest that the Yamna diet was terrestrial protein based with insignificant contribution from freshwater or aquatic resources. So they didn't really subsist too much on the fish. Anthony speculates that the Yamnaya ate meat, milk, yogurt, cheese, and soups made from seeds and wild vegetables, and probably consumed mead, which is a type of sweet, maybe it's a fermented sweet drink. A study in 2015 found that Yamnaya had the highest ever calculated genetic selection for height of any of the ancient populations tested. It has been hypothesized that an allele associated with the lactase persistence conferring lactose tolerance into adulthood was brought to Europe from the steppe by Yamnaya-related migrations. That's why some people are so milk obsessed, because they understand that was the key to height, that was the key to stability, that was the key to evolution, that was the key. But then when you have so much evolution and you don't want to be sick all the time, then you're taking all your herbs and extracts and detoxes, which is so prevalent in the first world, second world, third world, fourth world, whatever, and then it causes so many mutations, offspring, and then people are closed up. They don't want to keep feeling, they don't like feeling the heat, and then they go and drop kids, and then the parent dies. That's why you don't see the Yamnaya civilization so much, or descendants of the Yamnaya living indefinitely. And if you do, it's well hidden. If they are, I haven't heard of it. Okay. And Klaus Schwab, who's from a Germanic descent, lives out there either in Switzerland or somewhere else out there, who is the leader of the World Economic Forum. He is a tall dude. And then you look at all the Ukrainian women, because I follow leaders in the Eastern Europe, the celebrities in Ukraine, the women, like Eurovision. Ever watch Eurovision? Go watch Eurovision on Netflix. That right there, Iceland and all, like the UK, Scotland, all this, they're all performing, awesome singers. And the men and the women are built like fucking gods. Well, yeah. That's why there is this thing with this underlying thing of like racism. And I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. It's just that you have to now develop a predisposition to handle milk, to handle evolution, to increase your intelligence. You have to now figure out how you're going to extricate yourself from the jail of your culture if you want to evolve and live indefinitely and see the next world and be a representation, be a leader without leading. Studies that analyze ancient human remains in Ireland and Portugal support the thesis that R-M269 was introduced in these places along with autosomal DNA from the Eastern European steppes. Okay? So even Portugal. That's why Portugal, you have all that. It was the egg, custard, egg and milk. When I was in Portugal for Infinite Man Summit, and I'm eating all the food, it's like the milk, the custards. And what was that? It was Serradura. What was Serradura? It was vanilla and whipped cream and maybe some chocolate or something. But that's what they were subsisting on over there in Portugal. That's the oldest European country. Portugal. I was there in Portugal. Okay? Milk, cream is the nectar of the fucking gods. And it's been around for ages, of course. And that's why I've always been attracted to the white man. I married my husband who is from that background. Even my ex-boyfriends were white. Okay? I recognize the strength and the intelligence. But I mean, it helps that I came from a Caucasian household. Parents were both white, so they say, oh, it's the Oedipus syndrome, where you're wanting to marry your daddy or something. Well, not necessarily. I can see where Freud came, brought that up, because you're used to your background. If your background, if I was raised in Silicon Valley, which was mostly white, and my parents were both white, then it would stand to reason why I would then try to marry a white man. Okay? But that's the thing, is that, you know, the Jewish people in America, America was the last greatest experiment. It was a place where they could figure out, with the melting pot of people, the unlimited access to resources of DNA, because of the medical system, the holistic system, and all of biotech. And then you have the 1960s and the whole cultural revolution, no different than what happened in China back in the 1950s. I think their cultural revolution, it was a war against the intellectuals, and it was for the proletariat, the working man, the labor, whatever, turned all communist. And that's now you have now it's a real split between the rich and the poor out there in China. And they're doing their own organ trafficking and all that stuff. And then, of course, intolerance to other religions, even spiritual religions. And so and so now, when I think about it, when I buy my groceries, I love whipped cream. So I'll be buying whipped cream, eggs, little fruit juice, some meat, some bread and butter, and some potatoes. That's it. I don't need a slew of fucking vegetables. Because you'll turn into a vegetable, eat a bunch of vegetables. The cream was the fucking answer. Because I remember being so hungry the last couple years during those evolutionary sequences, and my stomach would be just like so gurgling. And I would try to figure out what is going to feed this. I don't know what to feed these little children in my belly. And so I would just eat whatever, you know, and I would just eat whatever. I would eat pasta, I would eat this, I just eat so much, but that wasn't enough. It's the cream that's going to do it. When you guys are dealing with your sickness, whatever it is, respiratory, cancer, disease, chronic illness, you just got done with a surgery, you'll never do it again, but you just did it because you didn't know any better. You're going to need the protein, whether it's soy-based or animal protein. You're going to need the fat, but you're going to need the cream. You need the ice cream. They're like, oh my God, it produces mucus. Yeah, it's called fucking life. It's going to release the demons and also give you the protein structures to rebuild your DNA that is now, that is at this point being sucked by the babies in your body, by the little demons in your body that you don't want to release. People are like, I don't want to shit. I want to keep all that shit inside of me. Okay, well, it is cannibalizing the shit out of you. And that's why there's the aging process. That's why you were told that you should die someday, because they've closed up your system. So maybe you don't have to reach in here and pull it out, but sometimes you may have to and help things out. But yeah, when you drink a bunch of cream, 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups relative to your size, oh yeah, you'll be shitting all right. But at least now you know that you can find ways to release the demons, and you can use the cream to help you do that. But sometimes if you have milk allergies or food allergies or cream allergies, lactose allergies, you're going to do that very carefully and still eat. And so yeah, the method of me pulling out your shit is a way to help you mediate in between your ability to transition, taking on that milk and that cream. So in a lot of ways, the whole J world is trying to show you different aspects of the importance of understanding your bowels, understanding your sphincter, understanding understanding the poop is the programming, understanding that your gut is directly correlated to your brain and how things work. And that there's ways to transition from being cured and aging and dealing with your predisposed issues to where you can transition out of that and develop another awareness and evolve to the next level, whatever that is, whatever you can handle. And so we had to come from life from so many different angles, from different perspectives. You can't be just tunneled and one-sided. If you are, you are going to lose so much access to another side of the world and life that you never knew, and it could be so much more than you ever thought. But sometimes people just don't fucking get it, and they're just like, oh, I don't care. I'll die, and I look forward to dying, and everybody should die, and it fucking irks me when I hear that, when people look forward to dying. And so when I posted about the Queen and Prince Philip, that's why she and he lived a long time. That's why her husband lived a long time. Both are passed away, however, but they both died at an older age. I mean, he lived longer than she did. However, the evolution of the monarchy is synthetic milk and release of demons. He was quite older than her too. Okay, even though he lived longer than she did as far as the age-wise, she outlived him because she was younger. King Charles will do his best. Princess Catherine, Prince William will be the face of the monarchy, no different than the American royalty like the Rothschilds and the Hiltons, okay? All they are is just a great representation of tradition. And watching The Crown on Netflix was a good way of looking at the assumptions people made of their connection with Nazi Germany and all the different conspiracies around that. And yeah, you can have one person in your family be connected to something that's nefarious and the whole family is tainted and assumptions are made. And so that Netflix documentary series of The Crown either wanted to rewrite history or wanted to tell you what actually happened. Will you ever know? It doesn't matter. You can always start again, even though it wasn't like the actual intention maybe 20, 50, or 100 years ago. It doesn't matter. Because now everyone's moving forward. It doesn't matter how things were, what the intention was, who was involved, what did they know, when did they know it. It really doesn't matter. Are people willing to change from now in the future? And are they willing to rewrite history to make the future amazing? Because if you give a history that is so horrible, like if you actually knew who was involved with the Epstein and the Jimmy Saviles and all that, then you would have no faith in the future and anyone that is in that leadership position. You would have no faith. So the fact that you only know a little bit about what happened with Jimmy Savile, and you suspect there's a lot more that went on, and Epstein and who was all involved. The fact you know a little bit about it, you realize, okay, yeah, we're seeing the weaknesses of humans. We're seeing the greed of humans, but a lot of them are either going to die or dead or whatever. Okay, now let's go and move forward into the future. Because the past really is irrelevant when you think about it. Now you have to keep developing the present and the future. And if they want to sugarcoat the past a little bit or make it not so egregious, that's fine. Because do you really need to know everything? Do you really? Or you want to be re-traumatized over and over again and never get out of the past? Which is what happens in the black population. They keep reliving what happened in the 1960s. Yeah, there's intolerant people out there. You stay away from them. But to keep re-traumatizing your kids of what happened in the 1800s, the 1960s, just tell them, be very careful. And yeah, we have to develop tolerance even in the police department. And we know there's a lot of racism out there. I know it. But we got to find a way to move forward. And that's what the system is trying to do, is trying to get the two warring populations to figure out a happy medium. And that's difficult because there's so much traumatized people that even the last 10 years have dealt with some trauma. And when there is things that happen, like shootings and all that stuff, this guy was unarmed. I mean, it brings up the trauma in people, but that you got to realize that was done purposely to keep re-traumatizing you. When you see stuff like that in the news of somebody, whether it's a black or a white person getting hurt, and it's all speculative whether it was, excessive force and all that, or it was, but it's nothing to do with you. Don't react to that. Do not give someone that kind of power to keep re-traumatizing you and your kids. You have to move forward and stay away from that, because then you get mired into that, and that's where they suck you dry with the activism. There's got to be a way to release those demons, and then you'll be acting WHITE. But if people keep saying, well, you're acting this way, you're acting that way, when people tell me, oh, you should die someday, you're this, or you can't do this, or whatever, if had people like that in my world all the time telling me that, I'd walk away. Even though my husband doesn't believe people should live forever, and that's fine. He doesn't tell me that to my face all the time. And I don't throw that in his face all the time. But I would not want to be around a bunch of people telling me that I should act a certain way. I should, not go and integrate with another culture. I would not be around anyone that's racist. I wouldn't. And so if you want to break out of the jail of your culture, you're going to have to figure out how to extricate yourself from those that keep re-traumatizing you. And you're seeing right now, a lot of people are, yes, they have dealt with something with their child. Right or wrong, can you walk away from that trauma? Because that's their own trauma. It's not your pain. It's their pain they're going to have to deal with. And it sucks. But what are you going to do as an observer of something? Are you going to go down the ship with them and just be traumatized and re-traumatized and then go out with a bang? Or are you going to do something different? Mind your own business, take care of you, yourself, and your family, and not get caught up in the activism. Whether it's a conspiracy world, racism, all the isms, because that's somebody gaslighting you. And that's what's going on right now, is America's getting gaslit like all to fucking hell. And so I just mind my own business. I just stay and just say, here's a path to releasing the demons. Stay home. Let all the rashes come to surface. Deal with your predisposed issues. Have a different awakening. Feed your brain new information. Redirect. Find a way to extricate yourself from the demons in your world. Save yourself. It's a lot. And so this synthetic milk, we will eventually stop enslaving animals to feed us. People also ask, is it possible to make synthetic milk? From a biochemical point of view, synthetic milk is identical to animal milk, as it is produced by the same genes. However, instead of being made inside the mammalian organism, it is manufactured in bioreactors using a biotechnological process known as precision fermentation. And that's just like, using robots to inseminate a woman. And what will men be used for? Well, men now can take care of themselves. They don't have to keep seeding the earth. Okay? But if you have that sexual predisposition of being so sexual, men will have to figure out how to temper that. But men can now finally be on their own and not be a sperm donor. But it's not that they really want to be a sperm donor. It's just they're trying to get off. For men. So anyway, we're not going to be enslaving animals. And I think it's a good thing. Because I'm sure these cows don't want to have somebody always milking them all the time. And I'm sure they don't want to be hooked up to all those different machines milking them all the time. And so, biotech is a double-edged sword if you understand them. If you are weak and you can't handle the new evolution, biotech is going to be your enemy. If you understand what's going on, biotech is going to be your friend. So again, you're the one that's going to determine your relationship with the new world. And if you're into enslaving animals, not so much as a pet, okay, I get there's different levels of freedom with people owning pets. You'll determine the freedom for your pet. As far as enslaving animals, doing the traditional farming, these animals are enslaved. They're being used for food. They're being used. As far as the eggs for chickens, it's not so bad. But when it comes to cows and all that other stuff and the goats and all, they're cute. And they're fun. But they get slaughtered. They die. Okay, Jillian, that's like real profound. I don't know. I'm just talking. And so then the plant-based proteins. Now, soy is a complete protein. We discovered soy is a complete protein. Beans and rice, complete protein. All right. But now you need the milk. So in the Mexican culture, you have beans and rice, complete protein. You have soy, like tofu. It's in the Japanese culture and all, maybe Korean. That's a complete protein. But now you need the milk with the complete protein. You don't need to separate it out. You don't need to play. I mean, that's the Orthodox kosher culture. But you can have a complete protein, like plant-based proteins, and the milk. And so the reason why I said meat, because yeah, you need the protein. And if meat makes you like, it's because you have deficiencies, but you need the protein. You need the animal fat. So you'll get animal fat in the milk, maybe not so much in the meat, but you get it in the milk, but then you make synthetic milk. No animal is involved. No animal is enslaved or slaughtered to feed you. Okay? And so those that are vegans and vegetarians that don't eat meat at all, okay, eat the plant-based proteins, but you need a shit ton of fucking cream. Some of you are so skinny in the vegan vegetarian world. Some of you are so skinny that you're probably full of muscle because of all the soy proteins. You're probably all muscle, hardly any fat. You think you'll survive an electrical surge? You don't have any insulation to slow the reaction time. You have to understand reaction time. You look at athletes, higher reaction time because that's what they're made to do, that with all that muscle. And even certain cultures that are mostly muscle. The African American population, even the Chinese. Because they're being used to toil in the fields. Like the Southern Chinese, they were all skinny. They were eating, the dumplings. I was eating the dim sum, the pot stickers. There wasn't a lot of milk, but there was a lot of protein, a lot of meat, a lot of carbs. In northern China, it's the same thing. I didn't see any milk on the table over there when I was in northern China. It was all Panda Express type of food. And so now you gotta realize that you need a mixture of both fat and muscle. And you need to release the demons. And you need to feel the eczema, the psoriasis, the hypertension, everything that you're taking drugs for. And yeah, your skin, your melanin, is going to now figure out, you're going to have to release some of that melanin because that's what's also causing, when you're blocking UV rays, you're blocking vitamin D year round. How are you getting your vitamin D? Oh, you're taking it in supplements. When you take it in supplements, then it causes then other issues. When you're taking so many supplements like vitamin D supplements, because you have so much melanin blocking the UV rays, you're not getting the vitamin D. That's the issue with having melanin all year round. And it's so dark that you're not getting the nutrients in your environment. And so there's got to be a way where you, and that's going to be difficult. I know, because me even feeling the heat, being Asian, where, yeah, I was dark as a kid because we're always out in the sun. And so the last 2 years really was feeling the heat, the hives. I had hives, I had heat, I had constipation, diarrhea, yeah, pains in different places, rashes under my armpits, different rashes, different places. I mean, I had the dry skin early on in the J world, really dry skin, acne, itching of the head. I mean, last night I was sweating so much. Because, yeah, we're going through another evolution. And my body reacted to that, and it's also reacting from when I had that anxiety of the future. That was like my sickness, an unresolved issue that needed to be dealt with. So imagine when it's just a little tiny fears of what the future is going to be like based upon the current thought process of living indefinitely. That's the thing, that when you finally release all your demons and your predisposed issues, that's what's going to be your anxiety when you go through another evolution, when the frequencies shift. Is that you're going to be like, oh, I'll have an issue with something that is unresolved that didn't seem like was unresolved, but I guess it was. And so I resolved it. I called up the 50 plus place, like, hey, so how does this work? In case I need to ever use you guys. And so that was my way of planning. That was my way of relieving myself in self-preservation, to know what would I have to do in the future if I decide that being alone, once I live everyone in my world, if being alone is going to be okay, because do I really want to take in someone with demons out there? A new person in the future, way in the future. Not necessarily. So then you go to a safer place in a communal living where there is staff and there is police and there is other things, and you have other people around that you can communicate with. And so that was my fear, that came out no different than someone who has a predisposed issue of like heart attack or stroke or psoriasis, and they had to deal with that versus that kind of thing. And so your body knows what it needs. Your body knows what kind of unresolved issues need to take precedence first. And every single unresolved issue will be dealt with if you allow it. You're not trying to run away from it, remedy it away, scoop it away, surgically take it out, or pretend it doesn't exist. When you face your demons, the suffering is going to be less and less and less and less and less and less until there really is no suffering. It's just like last night, I felt when I was sleeping, my nose fill up. Like my nose was filling up with mucus. You know what I was doing? I was blowing my nose, blowing my nose, blowing my nose. I turn this way, blow my nose, turn this way, blow my nose. And it was all gone, and I pooped this morning, took a shower or whatever, and I'm fine. That's the suffering that you will be dealing with once you deal with all your predisposed issues. So when you think about it, yeah, it was like a 7-year journey because mostly the first 5 years, it was all the intellectual, spiritual attacks I had to deal with and face. The last 2 years, it was the physical that I had to deal with. So it's all relative to what's going on in your world. If you are around a bunch of people who want to keep you trapped, you will go through the spiritual attacks of your friends, your family, your associates that will try to keep you away from evolving, that will make fun of you, that will tell you you're stupid, that will say, hey, you should come out with us. Why are you staying here? You should be out there. You shouldn't be a hermit. You shouldn't be this. You shouldn't be that. So when you actually start evolving, when you actually choose to evolve, it will be the spiritual attacks of your friends, your family, your cohorts that will try to keep you cured and not changing, unchanged. And they will love you to death. Oh, I love you, Johnny, Billy, Susie. I don't want you to hurt yourself from Jillian's way of life. You really need to stay with us. We're going to protect you and give you, be there for you, be all this for you. And then you're like, if you're weak, then you'd be like, yeah, okay. I got my tribe. I got my people. They got my back. People say, oh yeah, I got your back. We got her back. She got our back. Have your own fucking back. Yeah, I have my husband's back, but he has his own back. He doesn't need me to back his ass up. I don't need him to back my ass up. I have my own back. I've said my piece about everything. I didn't need him to do anything for me like that, to back me up. You have your own fucking back. If you don't have your own fucking back, then whoever has your back, you don't know what the hell their intention is. There are the 10 plagues in darkness. Don't be surprised if there is some kind of, volcano, and then it darkens one part of the world where they don't see sun for... oh God, yeah. Right now, Florida is going through a lot of storms, but we knew that. And I question, David Icke, whatever his name is. I always say Icky. I question if he's like COINTELPRO or whatever. Whatever. And so then, when I said, why else do you think the Nordic countries seem to be stronger and live longer like Prince Philip? Philip was born in Greece into the Greek and Danish royal families. His family was exiled from the country when he was 18 months old. After being educated in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom, he joined the Royal Navy in 1939 when he was 18 years old. Okay, so he has that lactose tolerance. That's why he died at 99 versus 77, which is the average life expectancy here in America. Because he was drinking the milk, the raw milk too. But alas, there are Nordic people and Danes out here in America and in other countries, first world, who are lactose intolerant, have a closed up immune system, and will also end up passing away. Even those in the Nordic countries who don't understand my information. So even Klaus Schwab, assuming that, he is who he says he is. Even those in Switzerland and Sweden and all those that I've had people contact me from those places. They're like, oh, you're stupid, you're this. Because they were professed to be the smartest, right? They're like, oh yeah, I'm Norwegian, I'm Nordic, and we've developed Ericsson, which is a type of phone. We developed this, and we're smart with this, and we're like this, and we're beautiful, and we're godly, and all this. And then you're saying, oh, you can live forever, and they haven't invented it yet. Well, you could have if you stopped taking the pills, past supplements, and detoxes, and herbal remedies and shamans, and doing all the plastic surgery if that's the thing, or doing all the sports so that way you're only muscle and hardly any fat. Yeah, you guys could have figured it out, but it took America. It took the land of the melting pot and extreme experimentation that gave us this opportunity, and for me to recognize that, yeah, there's a reason why the Greek mythology was based upon you, why the statues all looked Caucasian, because you understood milk. You understood milk, you understood cream. That's your claim to fame, Nordic people. That's your claim to fame. Longevity in Nordic countries. Not only is it the lactose tolerance, but their ability to process nutrients like milk, which is necessary for survival, but also the cold. Colder climates have longevity. Part of the reason why Ohio is so enticing and attractive. I wanted to be around snow at least part of the year. Okay? But even the climate change may not affect really strong Nordic people because they won't need to use the heating as much during the winter, during the cold winter, while everyone else is sweltering. Nordic countries will be relatively comfortable compared to the rest of the world. Fucking phenomenal. So here in America, even in Ohio, I don't really see too much of a winter in Ohio. It's mostly been warm and rainy. Okay? But I can handle it. But I stay in my house, and since I have a very sensitive immune system, a sensitive climate control system, that when I do bring it down to 69, it becomes really cold. And so I don't need to have it to be like 60 or 60 or 58. I can be at 69 degrees and be okay, even a really hot like 80 degrees. Okay, so I have an ability to adapt to my conditions and keep myself cool and keep myself warm when I have to deal with the adaptation in my environment. But yeah, with this climate change and people who are already immunocompromised that can't handle the growth of life, when it's warm outside, they're going to be blooming. I mean by blooming, they're going to be developing, cancer, disease, and chronic illness and autoimmune disorders. And we'll see an uptick in their predisposed issues that used to be under a cure. And some people will die from heart attacks and strokes. Because when the climate changes and their electrical charge in their body does what it has to do, they don't have enough fat on their body. They're too skinny. However, places like that used to be extremely cold, like Canada, will be warming up. Canadians will be discovering global warming at an exponential level. Climate change in Canada has had large impacts on the country's environment and landscapes. The number of climate change related events such as the 2021 British Columbia floods and increasing numbers of forest fires has become increasing concern over time. All right, so don't think that Canadians haven't made. And Canada has a lot of people from, I think, what is it? Canada, people from Canada. A lot of them are from Canadian, that they're from that area. Probably have, I'm sure, some Northern European, but a lot of Canadians are also people from all over the world. India, different places. Canada has a lot of French, that's right, France, a lot of French Canadians and all that. And so all Nordic countries exceed the global life expectancy in 2017. The highest life expectancy was in Iceland among females, 85.9 years old. 95% uncertainty interval. 85 to 86 versus 75.6, 75 to 75, 75.3 to 75.9 globally. And Sweden among males, 80.8 versus 70 globally. Okay? So why is it Nordic countries? Because they can deal with the milk. That's why I put a little ice cream underneath. And so you're seeing right now there's a new COVID variant called Arcturus, and it resides in the eye, the pink eye, the infection of the eye. So, and other weird, I guess, symptoms. So expect that, Americans. Trained to Romans. Yeah. Yep. And so I remember when Alex Jones was covering Charlotte Isterbite, and she discovered in the Department of Education the Russian way of teaching propaganda and all that. And I listened to, I forget what she was saying, but the gist was that we're taking a lot of cues from Russia. That's why Russia is always in the mix somewhere. They're not really our enemy. The educational system, the war tactics, the propaganda, Russian, Northern European. Okay, and Russians are from Northern Europe, right? Scandinavian, Czech, all those strong people. Chinese-based system, that's the world you're living under. Survive it. Understand the rules, the games that's being played. I'm surprised Brittany Griner survived that, but she was a representation of America. They didn't need to have that kind of where she would be in there forever. Brittany Griner needed to come back home, and I'm glad she finally did come back home. But don't ever bring marijuana to Russia ever again. Okay. All right. So that's the world you're living under. Survive it. Understand the rules, the games that are being played. Everyone is being used as a tool. Just make sure your tool is sharp, that your brain is sharp. Don't fall for all the freaking emotional gaslighting that's going on in politics, in religion, science, in race relations. Don't fall for any of that shit. If you do, then yeah, you're just showing that you're still traumatized, then you won't be able to get out of your own way. You will always fall for the lowest hanging fruit, the most emotional thing to confirm whatever it is you need to confirm. Or you'll be used as an example, because man-made law, natural law will be the one to determine your future. Thank you, Greek mythology, which really is Greek history. And so, yeah, we were designed to live forever. Absolutely. And that's why they played around with our food supply belief systems, meaning that you're thinking food is poison, and genetics and religions. And I mean, by making people fearful of food and symptoms, and then looking forward to death. I see so many people who can't wait to die. It fucking sickens me. Sorry, that's your belief system. I don't want you to die if you're close to me. I don't want you. But if you choose to, I can't stop you. And so when you have California and New York who have been bred to exercise their brain, then you have Middle America bred to haul heavy equipment, then all the points in between, biotech can do so much human experimentation. And then everyone has issues with milk, but they're given plant-based proteins like soy milk, okay? Nut milk. Fuck. Nut milk. Soy milk. Nut milk. Oat milk. Grain milk. What the fuck? Yeah, it tastes good, but are you getting the necessary nutrients? It's fun to have carbs, but you need the fat, you need the lard, you need the tallow, you need the butter, you need the saturated fats. They're like, oh, that leads to heart disease. Well, open up your fucking system. The reason why there's heart disease is people have a closed system. They don't want to release the demons. They're too afraid of symptoms. But everyone's afraid of fat, except for the fat on their body that they get cut off by surgeons or exercise their way through yoga and tantric sex or workout routines. Then you look at Hollywood from one extreme like Arnold Schwarzenegger all the way to Paris Hilton and Nikki Hilton and or Emily in Paris. The Stepford Wives, that's human programming, that's human experimentation. Then all the politics, religion, scientific dogmas in between. Then the takedown of America. But remember, we are influencing the world, especially the indigenous population, to follow in our footsteps. Developing intolerance to food, air, and water. Developing all the different activist stances. Crazy religions, and of course, yeah, starvation. And so the thing about America is now America is being used as a tool to destroy the developing populations, because you're looking at the YouTube and they're afraid of the salts, they're afraid of meat, milk, cheese, eggs, milk, all of that. They're afraid to feel symptoms. They can't pull out their own shit, whatever. And so yeah, the developing world, doesn't stand a chance against influential Americans who are being used as a tool. Oh, it's crazy. It's pretty interesting to watch. I won't be used as a tool to destroy a developing person or a developing country. But those guys on YouTube that are demonizing me over evolution, they're destroying the developing world. But hey, that's part of it. That's the depopulation agenda. Using your own immune system against you to destroy your evolution. That's all the therapies. When you program your body to destroy itself, that's like programming people in your community to go after you and destroy you and psychologically gaslight you and make you afraid of your own environment, afraid of food, afraid of water, afraid of everything. Afraid of everything. It's psychological. And these poor developing people don't stand a chance. That's why it's no surprise that I get hate emails from someone in the Philippines, from someone in Africa, because they're just developing. They don't know any better. When someone is not very well versed in understanding all sides of the story, just like a baby, they will just listen to whoever's telling them information. And until they're exposed to some other information that counters that or says, here's another opportunity to learn something different, that will be their world. That's religion. And so that's why it's so easy to develop religions, because you get someone who doesn't know any better and you brainwash them. So yeah, it's easy to brainwash the developing world because they don't know any better. And that's what those YouTube videos do, are brainwashing the developing world, as well as themselves and their followers. Hey, but whatever, that's the depopulation. I don't care. It's your funeral. If I hadn't studied physics and learned about kinetic energy and reaction time and why fat is necessary near your heart, but not too much and not too little, I would not be able to give you the example about soy-based proteins and lactose intolerance and why mothers nowadays are starving their kids of necessary fats, because they're all about the soy proteins, the plant-based proteins. All the mommy and me groups. Oh, my kid has this and that, whatever. So I just give them soy and oat milk and nut milk and goat milk, and that's it. That's all I give my kid. And a little bit of food here, a little bit of food there. But oh my gosh, that's all genetically modified. So I give them all organic shit, and their kids breaking bones. Their kids are so fucking weak. Oh, but remember, they're the mommies. They know it all. They know better than everybody else, right? Okay. And they're all lactose intolerant. So kids are breaking bones because they lack fat and calcium, because they don't have the necessary nutrients, and parents are overworked, distracted, and blaming everyone under the sun. So again, go watch the mommy and me groups and all the holistic remedies world. The vipers, those are the ones that attack me the most, were all the mothers, the vipers. Not all of them, but a lot of them. That was intentional. When you're giving your kids to the system to be looked after and taught, and then another revolution of homeschooling with the same recipe, fear of everything, kids are still breaking their bones, and their homeschooled parents have absolutely no fucking clue. Oh yeah, we'll take our kids on a field trip to go here and a field trip to go there. Oh, my kid just broke their bone. Oh, that sucks. Here, give them some plant-based protein and stay away from the milk because it's poison, right? When you're so fucking skinny with hardly any fat, when you're all muscle with very quick reaction time, it would just take a frequency shift change, and you won't survive a power surge in your bioelectrical system. Your heart will not be able to handle it because you don't have the fatty acid insulation. That's what's going to happen with the aging out population, those that are on cannabis and all that stuff, and there's hardly any fat to them, and they're afraid of food. I'm telling you, when you can't handle and face your demons, you're setting yourself up for a biological surge that you may not be able to survive. That's what you have to understand. That at some point you're going to have to face those demons and feed your body. And all of those drugs are setting the stage. The cannabis, everything is setting that stage. Okay? But if that's not your intention to live and survive this, then okay. If I hadn't studied Greek mythology a couple of years ago, I would not be able to put it all together. Maybe you should study. Maybe you should read something other than fear, politics, and religion. Some of you need a milkshake. Your body is in desperate need of nutrients. Some of you need ambrosia, the nectar of the gods. Klaus Schwab knew. People in the World Economic Forum understand. Not everyone, but many do. Maybe it's time to start, Maybe it's time for you to start redirecting your energy. Or not. And thank you for your service. And so I made a mango lassi with no cardamom. And then there's Paul Bunyan, the giant, with his ox. This is a fable, but is it really a fable or is it really real? You'll never know. But milk, ox, giant. Paul Bunyan, stories are plentiful. He cleared forests with one swing of his axe. He and his trusty bovine, Babe the Blue Ox, dug the Great Lakes to quench the thirst of his fellow loggers. He created the Mississippi River by simply dragging his axe behind him. He is a Wisconsin folk hero. So then who chopped down the tree of life? It could have been Paul Bunyan. There were giants of the past. I'm sure of it. Can I prove it? Well, no. But we have all these stories for a reason. But when you juxtaposition Paul Bunyan, the story of Babe the Blue Ox, and then the fable or story around how the Mississippi River and all that was created, the Great Lakes, and then you're saying, yeah, the Queen and King or the Prince and Princess of Buckingham Palace of England are all reptilians. I would rather believe Babe the Blue Ox than the fucking King and Queen is reptilian. That's discernment. But when you don't look at your leaders as humans, when you don't look at people like Bill Gates as a human, you will dehumanize him and the King and Queen of England or whoever in their traditions and all that. You will dehumanize them all to hell. They're not human to you. People demonize me. They don't think I'm human. Go look at the hater groups out there against me in the J world. They put me in the same category as Bill Gates. Let's just dehumanize her. Let's just nail her ass to the cross. Even Jesus Christ was looked at as human. He was looked at as some God that they didn't have any kind of human relationship to. So they can look at him, a plastic or metal or ceramic version of him being tortured, nailed to the cross every day because they don't look at him as human. That's how Catholicism has desensitized people from genocide. So they look at this dude that's been nailed to the cross every single day. Who was Jesus Christ? He was a dude that had awesome things to say that went against the time. And the Romans and whoever, was he white? Was he Mediterranean? He was probably Mediterranean or Arabic or something. Or Semite. He was a Semite. Now you could have light skinned Semites. It doesn't have to be dark skinned at the time. It just depends on how often you were outside. But I would rather believe Paul Bunyan than the freaking King and Queen are reptilians. Discernment, people. Discernment. I don't worship a person, place, or thing. There is no savior out there for me. That's why the Northern Europeans are fucking smart. That's why they are the innovation. It was the milk, nectar of the gods. Those that were indigenous living near the equator subsisted on proteins but not much milk. They were the slave class, hauling heavy things used as a tool. Now you know, understand the power of milk, cream with whipped cream, when white is right about food. Corded ware encompassed most of the continent, Northern Europe, from the Rhine on the west to the Volga in the east, including most of modern-day Germany, the Netherlands, Denmark, Poland. Those are the ones that can handle the lactose. Denmark, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Belarus, Czech Republic, Austria, Hungary, Slovakia, Switzerland, northwestern Romania, northern Ukraine, and the European part of Russia, as well as coastal Norway and the southern portions of Sweden and Finland. The late Neolithic, early Bronze Age, it encompassed the territory of nearly the entire Balkan Peninsula, where corded ware mixed with the other steppe elements. Those are the gods. I understood the nectar of the gods of the milk. Milk is life. It is concerning when people cannot handle life. Was that the design? You tell me. And so when you have a closed immune system and you can't handle symptoms, of course, evolution life will be a problem for you. An analysis of 9 studies that looked at a total of nearly 60,000 people found that consuming just a little bit more than 2 cups of cream or milk a day was associated with lower blood pressure. How do you develop lactase enzymes for those that are lactose intolerant? You must release the demons that are causing you to be deficient. How do you release something that's causing your body to be insulin deficient? You release the demons out of your body instead of taking insulin. You learn how to release the demons. You drink milk and release those demons. Maybe you don't have to take insulin or be diabetic or be obese or be underweight dealing with cancer or be in remission of cancer. Because eventually when you do bring life back into your body, your cancer will come back. But now you can release those demons and then your body can build up. But the reason why people have cancer is because they've allowed the little demons in their body to metastasize in some place because they don't allow the demons to release. And that's why there is tunnel vision and deficiencies and intolerance in those that in politics, religion, and science dogmas that have not released their demons. That's why it's hard to talk to someone in the J world who haven't released their demons, who are still buying into all the politics of for and against, that are worshiping this guy or that guy. What happened to faith in yourself and realizing that you're the one that has to be the one to now keep yourself alive and learn how to modify your finances so that way you can bring yourself into the new world, that you don't have to have all that material, wants, that you understand what you actually need to survive. Because obviously if you have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, your lifestyle wasn't working for you. Maybe it was for a minute based on someone else's intentions, but now it's not anymore. What are you going to do to change? How do you develop a lactose enzyme? You must release the demons that are causing you to be deficient. Too many people want to hold on to their demons, so they're afraid of all the food supply and they are starving. And then all the food is poison to them because their body is so desperate to evolve, and the person keeps taking food away from their own immune system, and they are more intolerant to food. Holy fucking shit. I knew it. The Northern Europeans, Sweden, Finland, all the extremely tall Caucasians can handle life in milk. I fucking knew it. Now, some of you are tall Caucasians, but you have been programmed. Now you have to release some of that programming, which is causing you to be the type A and type B blood type. Because remember, the queen is type O. And so, we've been bioengineered, okay? Even the Northern Europeans have been bioengineered for specific purposes. So you can train the body to develop a tolerance for milk and have a strong body without ending up with hypertension, diabetes, or other types of issues. So I read this yesterday. Read all that. Okay. So, yeah, and then poor Jerry Springer passed away. Oh, that was some funny stuff. And so I read that. Did I read that? Oh. Okay, milk is the golden ticket. Too bad some of you are too intolerant to see it for what it really is. I hope you can survive climate change. It is not a coincidence that those in Northern European countries are lactose tolerant, and those in East Asia and near the equator are lactose intolerant but are bred to perform extremely labor-intensive duties or cognitively stressful academic situations. Okay? And then both the mentally innovative and the physically innovative die off, blaming everyone but their own intolerances. Everyone else falls through the cracks in their politics, religion, and science dogmas, trying to save their kids or pets or animals and the world, and have yet to even consider saving themselves. It is no surprise. The salt in the JJ world reflected back all the truth some of you are avoiding and will continue to avoid until your whole family is gone. All by design at your own hand, praying for relief or under the influence of love, drugs, hate, and ignorance, worshiping nature, politicians, and your own goodness of kindness and love, distracted by performance artists and vacations and activism. Oh boy. And then that movie, Conspiracy Theory, you should watch that if you can find it. I couldn't find it on my streaming service. I wonder why. And then there is my last video. So now you get it. Now you see the whole picture. My book kind of shows you how to mediate between your transition. But my next book is going to be about milk and life, giving birth to yourself, milk. And now I got to put it all together. And I will. But that's my next book. is that now you have to face the demons. It's not, because let me tell you, you do so much J juice, you'll cure yourself. So you'll never face your demons with the J juice. But that was to wake you up initially. Now it's the fucking milk. It's the cream. John, drink shit tons of cream, John. Like, seriously, John, drink a shit ton of cream. Okay? Get Gemma on the cream. Get your kids on the cream. Like, literally, John, I want you to fucking survive this, because you are an example for so many people. Like, literally, you are an example. Okay? And so that's the answer. It's in the milk, the ambrosia. How did I know about ambrosia? My mom made ambrosia every Christmas. My mom said to me one time that she thinks she's reincarnated from somebody in Greece. I don't doubt that at all. I don't fucking doubt that at all. My mother had so much knowledge in her. Like, seriously, she had so much life experience in her. Knowledge, reincarnation. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We love the... Good. I'm so freaking happy for you guys. Okay. That's so awesome. Good job, John. I'm fucking proud of you. Fucking A. But yeah. So understand that this is how you're going to save your life. If you can handle the symptoms that go along with it. That's what you're going to have to face. But the salt woke the demons up. Now you know you can survive it. Now you know you need to feed it the milk, the cream. Good job, world. Thanks. Bye.